Okay, we are live. Welcome to another live session here on YouTube. This time I'm only going to do YouTube because I think it'll be a little bit easier. Lately I've been doing both YouTube and Instagram, but I find that somehow and sometimes it's a little bit hard to do both at once. So this time I wanted to talk about getting the shot versus being in the moment. I've been thinking about this a lot lately. Just got back from the trip to Norway. Not really just, it's been now 2 weeks. And it was very interesting that the same thing happened to me that when I went to Mexico. The trip was absolutely amazing. The people we met, the paddlers, and just everyone along the way was amazing. Same thing as what happened in Mexico when I met Danielle. It was such a wonderful experience. The places we went to were stunning. The paddling was great. But when it comes to what I was thinking visually for my photos, it actually, what I had in my mind didn't actually happen during the trip. And as I came back, I finally had gone through all of my footage and all of my photos and everything from the trip. And I realized that what I was hoping to get from the trip, I didn't get. But I got so much more of other stuff that I wasn't even planning on getting. And so I wanted to talk about that a little bit. On one hand, so in my head, and the same thing happened with the trip to Mexico. In my head, I was visualizing going to these amazing places, these fjords, and then being able to be at just a perfect location during the sunset. I took filters, I took a couple of lenses, and I thought, in my head I just had a picture of what I wanted to get. And when I was there, I realized that, for example, in Mexico, we wound up being on a shore where the sun set behind the walls, and we weren't able to really get what I had in mind. And then when we were in Norway, most of the time we were hanging out with these wonderful people, wonderful paddlers that I've been talking to for years. And I realized it was just go, 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 and going from place to place, and there wasn't really the time to set up and get that magical shot that in my head for some reason I had. But then as I looked through my stuff, I realized I got so many other wonderful photos of different things that I would have never expected. But the one in my head, I didn't get. And so on one hand I was bummed, and then on the other hand, once I got through all of the footage and all the photos, I realized I got so much more than what I was thinking about. And I know I'm beating a dead horse because I say this all the time, best camera is the one you have with you, yada yada. But I realized that I was worried about what lenses to take, what camera equipment to take, and it turns out that for some of the shots that I got that were my favorite, were the ones that I got on my GoPro on my shoulder while I was doing something else, or it was on the GoPro while it was running on its own on my bow or on the stern. There were a couple that I got with my good camera, and sometimes with a good lens or sometimes not, but those were spur of the moment photos, and then something nice came out of it. But it wasn't usually when I like to take out filters and get the right lens and think about composition. That's usually times that I'm either by myself or I know that I'm going to be paddling out for a long time, and these trips were more about the people and being in the moment and enjoying the paddle, enjoying the views. And so it just makes me think more and more that there needs to be a separation. I need to not worry so much about the equipment and about getting that shot. And I need to not worry at all and just enjoy what I'm doing. And so I want to see what you guys were thinking. If you're joining me live, thank you for joining me. You could always, there's a chat box below, and you can type in and we can talk live. If you're watching this later on, I hope that the chat is helpful, as maybe you're thinking or you're going through something similar. I have a couple of photos. Before I keep talking about that, let me just give also a little bit of a preview of what's coming soon. I'm in the middle of finishing a review for the Narbox. The Narbox is it's a hard drive that you're able to store lots of different. You can plug in any type of media card or thumb drives or whatever. You can back stuff up to it, and you could even edit right on it. So you don't need to take your laptop if you're traveling. And it's been very useful. And so I'm finishing up a review on that, or at least it's first impressions because I haven't been using it that long. If you're joining me, if you're joining me live, like I said, just feel free to type in below, and we can chat live. Another thing that's coming soon is first impression of. I don't know if you've seen on my channels, but it's going to be. I decided to go for the Sony FDR X3000. Here they are. Julian, thank you for joining me. It's difficult to enjoy and get that shot. Sometimes it's hard to be the subject and also the photographer. I couldn't agree more. That's actually a very good point. Because really we are, in a lot of these shots, we're in it. Or, for example, if it's an action shot, you want to worry about surfing, or you want to worry about what you're doing and not worry about getting the shot. And so, actually, that's part of why I decided to get, because actually, I don't know if you guys know, the GoPro Hero 6 has been leaked, and it has some really nice features. I have a couple of friends that have the 5, and the 4 has been great for me. It's really been a great camera. I've gotten so much good stuff, but after watching and seeing a lot of reviews on the Sony the new Sony Action Cam that actually came out, I think, almost a year ago, last September. The image stabilization just looks superb, and one of the things that really bugs me, even on the GoPro 5, and I'm thinking the 6 will be the same, is just that it doesn't really have stabilization, and I find that I really would like to wear it on my helmet more, and you know, for the kind of stuff we're doing, it's going to be bouncing around like crazy all the time, and I've gotten footage from friends that have the Hero 5, and I realized that a lot of times I don't use the footage as much because it's very bouncy. And after watching some reviews of the Sony, I think Sony might have that beat. So I'm going to try it out. And then the other thing that I was thinking is, it would be smart for GoPro to not put stabilization in their cameras, because then you're forced to use their gimbal device or just a gimbal of other stuff. But since they have a gimbal stick, I'm guessing they want if people want very steady video, then you would just use that. So I'm going to give this a test and see. It's a little bigger, it's bulkier, and it's going to be very strange to have something this big up on my helmet. But I'm going to give it a try, and I'll report back to see what I find from this. So that's another video that I'm working on. And then another video on tips, which Cormac Kubrick asked today, which I think is actually an excellent suggestion. Some tips on solo paddling. I think it's a really great topic. I'm putting together a couple of ideas of tips that would be good if you're going out by yourself. So that's another video that's going to be coming up in the next week or two, so keep an eye out for that. So now, as Julian said, let's go back to the photography, getting the shot, but being in the moment. So one of the things I found in Norway was, oh, and as I said before, if you're joining me live, you can type in the text box below and we can chat in real time. So one of the things I found in Norway, which was absolutely amazing, was when I was out with Thomas, Christopher, Kristen, and Matt, we spent an entire day out in the fjord, and it felt like I was back home hanging out with friends. It was awesome. Thank you, Fernando. I really appreciate it. Yeah, it was time to get rid of some of the hair. He's saying nice haircut. So we were hanging out all day, and we launched in the morning, we got back in the afternoon, and it was a fantastic time. Here, I have some shots. For example, and actually this goes back to it. So this is a shot. I know it's going to look terrible because it's on an iPad, but for this shot, I really liked it in that you can't predict the weather. We were hoping for the best. We got, there was no wind. There were clouds. It was a bit overcast, but it was really nice all day. It was peaceful. And then towards the end of the day, it started raining a little bit. And this photo that I got, and I got it with the GoPro. What I'll do is maybe I'll add links in the description below to these specific photos on my Instagram feed. And this photo captured something really nice, which was just us enjoying the serenity that we felt with the rain in this beautiful, beautiful location. And because of the rain, I couldn't use the better equipment. I couldn't take out the nice camera. I just had the GoPro on the bow of my kayak, and what I like to do a lot of times is I just put it on burst mode over the course of a couple of seconds, and every so often I just hit record, and hopefully it catches a nice photo. And doing that actually caught some really, really nice moments, and it was about the moment and not thinking about how to set up the image or what filters am I using, or there was none of that. It was just capturing that moment, and there was no thinking involved. I just pressed the button, as I do very often when I have it in that mode, and it caught something really nice. Here's another one where if I had had my good camera out to try to get this was actually Wandering Electrician says that he snapshots from the video as it runs in editing. I do that a lot of times as well, but what I found is sometimes I like printing them, and so when I print them, then I like having them slightly higher quality. However, now a lot of the stuff that we're shooting is in 4K, and you can just get absolutely amazing screen grabs right from video. But I agree with you. I had been doing that for a long time. And then lately I've been doing both. I switched back between video and photo. Sometimes if the shot really came out in the video, I'll snap it there too. But so this was in Buffjorden, and we were paddling with Lars's kayaks, and I stopped for a second. I flew the drone. And while I was standing there, I wasn't going to get any of the other equipment out. I just had the camera on my shoulder. I snapped a photo or two and then just kept going. I didn't think about composition. I didn't think about filters. I didn't think about anything. I just shot it. And it wound up having a really nice, it captured, as I said before, a really nice moment that I wasn't expecting. Here's another one where when I shot this was one of the fjords when Thomas took us around to where we were going to camp for the night. This was similar to the view we had. And it was, when I was taking the photo, I was thinking, oh man, you know, it's overcast, but it's really cool and moody with the clouds, but I don't know. And once I got home and I started looking at the photos, I thought, you know, we can't control that. We're not going to get a perfect sunset every time. And I'm very, very, very happy with how some of these shots came out. But once again, it was about, I took the camera out, I took a quick photo, I put the camera away, and I kept enjoying the moment. I wasn't thinking, oh man, the weather's not perfect, the angle's not right, or it was about, same thing here. There were a couple of shots that were just, I put the camera up on the stern, and then every so often I hit record, burst of photos, and there were a couple of really nice moments that came out of it. Same thing, just enjoying a nice, peaceful paddle with my wife in Norway. And it's funny because I wouldn't say agonized because it's a dumb way to put it, but I had thought for so long about what lens to take and trying to keep the weight down. And if you're joining me live, go ahead and if you'd like, you can type into the text box below and we can chat in real time. Thank you for joining me. So as I was saying, I thought for a very, very long time about what lenses to take because I've learned from my mistakes. I usually take too much gear. I use half of it, and especially when you're flying and when you're flying far away, and there's a very good chance you're going to have to. Oh, here's another. The best shots seem to be the ones that you don't even think about. Just hit the shutter, and later you're like, "Why? Wow." I completely agree. That's a lot of times that really happens. And well, here's the thing. I have gotten some shots out of my good camera with a good lens on a tripod with filters, but those take a lot of thinking and those take a lot of time, and you need to have the right lighting, you need to have the right place, you need to have just everything needs to line up to really get a really nice shot out of it. And I think is exactly what you're saying. Sometimes you'd be surprised how much you can get by just hitting the shutter when you're not really thinking about it. Julian says, I'm more a photo than a video kind of guy, so I set the camera on time lapse and I forget about it. See, that's another really nice way to do it. You put it on time lapse, it just takes shots the entire time, and then you can grab them later. That's a very, very good point. Thank you for the tip. My problem is simply I go back and forth very often, but on these trips I'm learning more and more to, as I take these trips, I'm learning how to make that secondary and also enjoy the moment, because a big part of why I'm taking these trips is to meet these other paddlers and to visit their homes, and, well, their stomping grounds or their paddling grounds or whatever you want to call it, to have them share these locations with us. And for example, we were sitting, when we were in the fjord with Thomas and the gang, and we were sitting having lunch, and I walked around for a minute. I took a couple of shots with my GoPro on my shoulder. I didn't actually take out my guys' camera at all, because we were sitting and just talking and eating, and it was so much fun to be there together. And I didn't want to ruin that moment by taking out the good camera and starting to take shots. Actually, I think I'm lying. I think towards the end I went right before we left and took out the camera and took a couple of shots. But I don't think any of them came out, because that's the problem. I took a couple of quick shots. I didn't take my time to set anything up. And what wound up being better is the random shots that I took from my shoulder wound up being a lot nicer than the nice camera ones, because I didn't take my time for them. But it was more about just hanging out with them. Wandering Electrician, can you show your 360 camera? I don't have it here with me. I have it packed still with the equipment from Norway, so I'm gonna owe you that one. I'll show you that camera if you join me next time we do this, and I'll have it handy so that I can show it to you then. I'm sorry about that. But here's another example. I took this shot with the nice camera. Well, there we go. This was with the Sony A6300 with the nice lens, and it's funny. So this day, my wife and I were just paddling in Buffjorden, and I had 3 chances where I took out the nice camera while she was paddling away, and I tried framing and shot a couple of shots, and then I paddled back to her. At another point, I took the camera out as she paddled away, a couple of shots, and then I think a third time I did it again from a different location, a couple of shots. And from that, I had a couple that I was happy with, but it reminded me just how much it was about enjoying the moment and not thinking I need to get that shot. This was one that also made me think a lot. So as we went up, so we started in Oslo, we made our way west and north, and then Thomas was kind enough to give us about 25 stops of really beautiful locations and what roads to take, so that we would take back roads and mountain roads, and we wouldn't actually be taking some of the highways and skip some of these. And then eventually we made it out to the Atlantic Road, which, if you visit Norway, the Atlantic Road, I highly, highly recommend. It's absolutely gorgeous. And this is the Atlantic Road. I know that as I show these photos, they look terrible on the iPad, but I'll post links to them below so you can see the actual photos. And I got this shot by flying the drone. I flew the drone 4 or 5 times a day each day I was there because we were in so many different locations that were absolutely gorgeous. There weren't that many people around or anybody around when I was flying, which was really nice because I don't like flying if there's anyone around. But I had seen a lot of photos of the Atlantic Road online, and the photos are just incredible. You'll see them at sunset from different angles, and it's just gorgeous. And we got to the Atlantic Road, and it was overcast, and it was gray, and it was dreary, and it was probably going to rain soon. And I thought, man, we're here. I don't know when I'll be back again, and this is the weather. And also, it was just the wrong time of day, too. But then I flew the drone, and I snapped a shot, and I was just delighted when I got back. Here, I'll get it a little bit closer. I was delighted when I got back, and I found this among my shots. And it doesn't matter that the weather wasn't right for it. It was still about enjoying the fact that I was there at that moment, and I was happy that I had the tool to get the shot by flying the drone at the right angle and getting something that I was very, very happy with. But once again, this was something that I flew the drone for maybe 5-10 minutes, knowing that there was some shot up there that I wanted, and then I was going to pack it up and go. And that was the same thing. If I really wanted to get the perfect shot, I would have spent a lot longer. I have always with me 2-3 batteries. I wound up using the same battery for a couple of flights as we went from place to place, and I really tried enjoying being there and not worrying about capturing every single thing we did. How did you pack your nice camera? Dry bag on your deck bag? Yes, so for the nice camera, what I've been using, sorry, all my equipment is still packed up. I haven't put it away. Yes, I have a deck bag that is a dry bag, and I don't trust it to be waterproof, so I actually double bag it. And it's not a really nice camera. It's the Sony 6300 with a lens which is the 18 to 105, 18 to I don't remember. But the camera's not that expensive. The lens is not really that expensive. But compared to what I usually like taking out on the kayak, I consider it the nice camera. But it's not a DSLR, and it's not one of the top end ones because I don't want to take the weight with me, and I don't want to have any chance that it's going to get hurt. But anyway, it's also smaller, so it's easier to pack away in a dry bag on the deck. But yeah, so I put it in a dry bag, and then that's inside my deck bag, which is also a dry bag. But so what I do is I start off with both of them really packed away nicely. I also put a small microfiber towel in there so that every time I'm going to go get it out, I dry my hands first, and then I take it out, shoot, put it away. If I see that things are going well, then I take it out of both bags, I use it, and then when I put it away, I seal the main bag, but I don't seal both of them together because I think, all right, I'm going to try to stay upright. I know that there's a chance I might capsize, but if I feel like it's calm conditions and there's no way, not there's no way, but if it looks like it's going to be nice, peaceful, then I use just one at a time. But if it gets bumpy or anything else, then I try to double bag it every time. It's just, it takes time to take it out and then put it away. And if you take it out and then try to shoot and then put it away, by the time you put everything away, everyone is really, really far ahead of you, and it takes a while to catch up. So on days that I've tried really hard of really getting a photo, I realize I don't actually enjoy the paddle as much because half the time I'm just playing catch up to the group rather than just enjoying being there. So that's one of the things I'm talking about. That looks unreal, right? That road is absolutely incredible. Actually, when the weather's really bad, they sometimes even close the road because the waves will hit the bridges and the roads and cannot either people or cars around. Do you launch the drone from the kayak? I'd crash into the water for sure. So I have launched the drone from the kayak. what I'll do is I'll post a video here, a link to it. I have a link to the day that I launched it from the kayak. I was able to launch and catch. I've done it a couple of times, and that's part of why. Oh, I don't have it here with me. I got an extender that I talked about in the last video. That I got an extender, so it's a little bit easier to grab the drone. But I have done it before. It's very it's very nerve-wracking because the biggest problem is if anything happens with the drone, it has a function called return to home. And if anything happens, if it disconnects, whatever happens, it's going to return to home. Return to home is where it launched. And most of the time when you're kayaking, when you get it up in the air, you're going to be somewhere else sometime soon. So if for any reason something happens, the drone is going to make its way back to where you launched it. So you need to keep a close eye to where you launch so that in case something happens, you got to get back there because that's where the drone's going to be dropping. So going back, there were a couple. I set up a couple of other photos that I wanted to show from this. So here's another example. This was as we were paddling in the fjord, and same thing. It was more about. I was really enjoying paddling with the group. I didn't want to take stuff out. I didn't want to waste time and not be with them and talk to them as we were paddling. So I just kept taking shots with whatever camera I had with me. So here's an example. This is when we were eating in the fjord. So all I did is while we were hanging out, I walked behind everybody and I just shot this with my GoPro from my shoulder. I wasn't thinking about composition. It just looked nice in front of me. I went, I shot it, and I kept going because I had been waiting years to meet these great paddlers, and I wasn't going to waste my time setting up a camera, and I wasn't there to take a photo. I was there to meet them. Same thing. This one, actually, when we got there the very first night, we were having a beer, and we couldn't really see where we were because Christopher took us to this location, and it was already dark. So what I did is I set up a night shot with a really, really slow, there you go. And it actually, it came out really nice. Oh, so when I was with Danielle and Danny in Mexico, I had in my mind a couple of different shots I wanted to take. And my favorite shot of the trip was this one, of Danny hanging out as we waited for Danielle and Rafa to come over. We were looking at what this, on this side. This over here is called a Christmas tree. It's this really cool formation on the side of the canyon. And we were just hanging out, taking pictures of it. And it was nothing like the photo that I had in my mind before I went there. But it wound up being my favorite, and it came down, once again, to not worrying about getting the shot, not worrying at all, enjoying your time there, and it was fantastic. Actually, this goes with Wonder Electrician. This was a shot of Daniel surfing, and it was, as you said, I was filming him surfing with my drone, and then I took this shot from there. And I was very, very happy with that. That sums it all. You were there to meet people, not to take photos. The images come as a bonus. Exactly. I will say, though, that part of the idea is to make a documentary video, a short one, of our experience there. But like you said, it's about meeting these other paddlers, not photographing them. So I didn't want to just hang out and miss out on just enjoying myself. I have some other photos that I don't think are worth showing. Oh, so actually, no, this is a good example. So this was during the Hudson River Greenland Festival this year. We were out on a paddle, and I was falling behind, and I caught this shot that I really liked of 3 of the guys that were paddling up ahead. And this was one of the trips that I felt that I was falling behind the entire time, taking photos instead of, here's another one, you can see Jorge up front and a whole bunch of the guys right by the bridge by Bear Mountain. And almost all the photos I took, I was just way, way, way behind. And I realized, what's the point? I'm not really enjoying the paddle. I'm really just trying to take these photos. And they didn't really add up. And then it made me think of photos like this that I took. This is Alan in his green tee. One day that we were crossing the Long Island Sound, and it was just like glass on the water. And this one I took with my GoPro from my shoulder. I wasn't paying attention to anything. It looked gorgeous, and I thought maybe something will come of it. And I just kept taking pictures here and there, and that came out. So, I don't know. I don't know if anybody will find... This is more of a rant. I've been thinking about this for the last couple of months. I came back from Mexico thinking, I didn't really use a lot of the equipment I took. Why did I work so hard and carry all that equipment with me? And so every trip since then, I've been trying to get my gear. Fernando, thank you. That's an awesome shot, he said. Thank you so much. Which one? The one of crossing the Long Island Sound? That blue one was, like I said, that was a really great one in that it wasn't planned at all. I couldn't see what I was shooting. It was right from the shoulder, but sometimes you get home and that's what's waiting for you. So I came back from Mexico thinking, why did I take so much equipment when I used, yeah, that one. I really like that photo too. Why did I take all this equipment? And ever since then, every trip I've been thinking more and more about, it has to be about enjoying ourselves while we're doing that and not the equipment. So I've been trying to make my kit smaller and smaller. On this last trip to Norway, I wound up using the cameras I took. Actually, I used everything I took. There was one lens I took that I didn't need to, and it was a heavy one too, that I barely used. But it's getting better and better. And now, what I'm hopeful is that with this little Sony, I can replace two of my cameras. I can replace the GoPro, and I can replace, I have a little, it's not really a point and shoot, but it's a small little Canon that I use for pickup shots or for B-roll. I like, it's very, very easy to take with me. It's light. It shoots well enough. But if this little Sony can do both of those jobs, and then I use my Sony a6300 for everything else with two cameras, I can cover everything I'm thinking that I like to shoot in terms of photos and video. And if I can break it down to that and then decide whether or not to take the drone, obviously. But that's it. I think as I keep making my kit smaller and smaller, I'm going to start enjoying being able to capture what I'm doing, but then not worry about capturing it at all. And getting that idea out of my head of what I'm hoping I come back with this amazing photo that has the sun just right. If I want to do that, then I just need to go to a place nearby that I know exactly what the weather is going to do. I can be there at the right time, and I can look in the right direction and shoot what I want, because half the time when you're traveling, you're only going to have a very limited amount of time in each place that you're thinking of taking a photo. And unless you go specifically to take pictures, you just have to do the best you can and not worry about it. So more than anything, I know maybe as a viewer you might not really get much out of this video. I think it was more about me getting this off my chest, moving forward, letting it go, and understanding that sometimes the best shot is the one that I wasn't expecting. I've been using an Olympus TG 870 and an Ion Air Pro 2. Both are great. Both are 4K and get great shots. I'm going to look into them. That's thank you for letting me know. I've heard of the Olympus. I know that one's fantastic, but the Ion Air Pro 2, that I don't know about. I am the same way, Fernando says. I want to capture the moment so much that I miss out on the experience. Yes, right? That's what happens very often is we think, oh, I need to shoot this and I need to shoot that, and then all of a sudden you realize, oh, it's gone. So, but the same thing is, there were a couple of times that I was bummed, thinking, "Oh, the weather's not nice, or it's not the sunset, or we're in this one particular fjord, and it's right at noon, so no shot I'm going to take really looks that great." But it turns out that with some of these little action cameras, even if it's noon, as long as the location you're in, you're going to get something really nice out of it. So I need to stop worrying about that. What kind of shoulder mount did you use? Is it comfortable enough to paddle long distances with it? Yes. So it's also packed up. I'm sorry. It's all in my suitcase from the trip. But Julian, I will send you a message. I'll write it down. I will send you a message with what the shoulder rig is. So what it is so it's a GoPro mount that it's a little cube that goes into a clip, but the clip can clip anywhere, and I just clip it into my PFD, and it has two bolts that you can move with your hands, very easy to put in and on and off, and then the cube snaps into place with a little lever to make sure that it locks so that it won't just fall out on you. So it's this big, it's very light, and you just have the GoPro somewhere, wherever you want to put it. So I don't even feel it because it's just attached to one of the straps in my PFD. But what I like about it is, the reason I've been using it a lot is, with my helmet cam, when I had it mounted on my helmet, I realized that I would often forget that I had it up there. And my video would come out really, really shaky. I'd look around, and then I couldn't use almost anything that I was shooting. And then sometimes I just didn't get the angle right of the camera, and then it turned out that the entire day was just shot because I didn't get anything because just the positioning of the camera was wrong. What I really like about the shoulder is that you can mount it so that you know exactly where it's pointing, you can look at it, and you can move it up, look at whatever's happening, and easily just shoot if you want to. You could also unhook it and take it off, and then you can shoot with your hand and clip it back in. So I will shoot you a link to that so you can take a look for yourself. I think it was cheap. I think it was 25 bucks, maybe 30 bucks on Amazon. But anyway, if you're joining me now, let me know if you have any last minute questions. There is a live chat box below so that we can talk real time. Thank you for listening to my rant. Like I said, I hope this helps in some way, but if it doesn't, thank you for listening. I just wanted to see if other people felt the same way. Whenever we go out, we think, "Oh man, I need to take this picture. I need to post it." But it's not about that. We need to remember that it's what got us kayaking in the first place. What got us outdoors in the first place. It's about the people. It's about the solo paddle. It's about doing it. It's about paddling at sunrise or sunset, or going and enjoying some fast-moving water. And let's remember to use tools that allow us to capture but don't take away from the experience. And that's where I'm thinking of going with my kit. The Ion Air Pro 2 is less than 100 and actually takes better shots than the GoPro most of the time. I have it mounted in front of the cockpit and it gives forward shots that are incredible. I'll definitely look into it. That sounds really promising. I am actually really hopeful the Sony does what I want, but we'll see. I think there is no camera out there, the same way that there's no lens out there that does everything we want. I keep thinking I'm going to find this all-purpose lens that's going to do everything I want. Super shallow depth of field, but still an amazing range that doesn't exist. You either have a prime with super shallow depth of field, or you have some kind of zoom that has the range that you're looking for. But in my head, I think that's just, we always think that there's something better out there, we just haven't discovered it yet. But I also find that I take way too much equipment, I don't use half of it, and I wind up getting the best shots on the equipment that I didn't think would actually do that. So Thank you for joining me. Thank you for chatting for a while. If you have any comments about it, if you feel maybe you completely disagree with what I'm saying, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think. So watch out. The next couple of videos are going to be tips on solo paddling, a first impression video of the Narbox, and first impression video of the Sony FDR X3000. Alright. Subscribe if you like. I'm always trying to put these videos out, and as always, look forward to Kayak Hipster. See you next time. Thank you for joining me.